What happened in practice for the Japanese Grand Prix? So, let's begin with FP1. What happened, Tommy? Because we both definitely woke up early for it. The one thing that's very clear is that Max Verstappen doesn't want any of us to have fun this weekend, just like we predicted.
The revenge tour hit with a bang, didn't it? And Max Verstappen has arrived at Suzuka and just gone, right, business as usual. And then, FP1, the margin was even bigger than normal, I'd say. Because, he was absolutely flying and miles ahead of everyone.
Yeah, but look, Tommy, it's only FP1. Unless Ferrari are top of the session, in which case it is absolute analytical data and representative of the whole weekend. What I will say, though, and something I've sort of noticed from both free practice sessions, Perez, unbelievably washed in this first Friday sessions. I mean, and I'm not going to jump to conclusions here, but that's a crazy margin that we've seen on Friday for Perez.
It is, yeah. I mean, Perez has... this is a circuit all about confidence, right? You're throwing it into extremely high-speed corners, and we know Perez hasn't been as comfortable in that Red Bull as Max Verstappen. There's been races where he's been a bit closer, like Monza and stuff, that, maybe is a bit more of a, there's not so many high-speed corners where it's all about confidence in the car. And, the margin is absolutely... massive at the moment.
Question from P1 Patreon member AMG Piper. If Liam Lawson manages to score points or outperforms Yuki, will Williams approach AlphaTauri to replace Sargent with Lawson? Surely he deserves a drive. That's where I thought would be the most sort of natural progression of talks if Lawson didn't get at the AlphaTauri seat. But what I'm reading, what I'm hearing, the rumour mill that is churning is that Logan Sargent is keeping that Williams seat, which is surprising to say the least. But, I don't really know why they would do that. Perhaps they still value the American market and believe that there is something there from the Williams team's perspective. But, they've got money now, Williams. They've said this several times. Surely if that is an opportunity, if there even is the slightest crack of the door open to get Liam Lawson, you'd expect that to potentially sort of be utilised and approached, because Lawson is better than Sargent, hands down.
Yeah, I mean, Logan's not scored a point yet. Alex has scored quite a lot of points. So it's got to be said that Logan is costing Williams in that Constructors' title. They're in a fight in that kind of bottom tier with different drivers, and Alex is doing that on his own at the moment. So, sorry, bottom teams, not bottom drivers. The fact that that Logan looks like he's going to keep his seat is a surprise, but looks like he will.
We now go to free practice 2. And one of the biggest moments was right at the end of the session, where Pierre Gasly hit the wall and brought out the red flag, which then ended the session. It wasn't a big hit in the slightest, though. It was actually quite a pathetic crash where he's just sort of bouncing along the gravel, a slight sort of touch with the barrier, and then the front left suspension just folded in on itself, which I found quite bizarre. Because you see sometimes F1 cars be able to take quite a lot of loads, in impacts with each other and whatnot, and then it just folded in on itself.
I've never seen a weaker suspension. What on earth was that? It hit the wall so light and then just buckled, and just it must have been the perfect angle just to completely obliterate it at what looked like such a slow speed. So tough on Gasly. He was right down the bottom of the order as well. But it's not could be worse. He could do it in FP3 and then have to get it ready for quali. So they'll get it sorted and be all good.
Another story was, of course, Max Verstappen on his revenge tour, topping FP2 as well, but only by 0.3 this time, ahead of Charles Leclerc. The one sort of main takeaway I found about that all was how unreal they are in the first sector. Mercedes were losing 0.6 of a second in that first sector every single time they did a run versus what Max Verstappen was doing. They managed to sort of equalise with George Russell over the course of the rest of the lap, but my God, they are so good in that first sector. And as we mentioned, Perez struggling massively down in ninth, a whole second behind what Max managed to achieve at the top of the timesheets as well.
With how crazy close, I know we're, other than Max, obviously, we're getting that battle for P2 again, where it's like, could be anyone's really. Perez is in danger of maybe being half a second off Max, and rather than being second, like he sometimes is, he could be 9th, 10th, something like that on the grid, maybe even knocked out.
Question from Ronak. Do you think the new technical directives did impact Red Bull, or is it just that Perez isn't in form right now, which is what explains his gap to Max in both free practice sessions? I think we can just sort of rubbish this whole technical directive impacting Red Bull now. It was something that we sort of pushed aside anyway in Singapore, because before they even arrived, Max sort of said that on the simulator it didn't look very good in comparison to Suzuka, which felt amazing. It was very much just Singapore being an outlier, in my opinion. And Max is proving that. You know, he's at the top of the timesheets, both of the sessions today. Perez, I feel, is just slipping further and further away as we continue on. And whatever that reason is, we can only wait for Red Bull or himself to let us know why. But this technical directive stuff just kind of needs to be put to bed now, I think.
Yeah, definitely. I don't think it's impacted them at all. And this is the answer. You know, we said it before that Red Bull aren't afraid to show their hand in practice, not like maybe some other dominant teams of the past maybe would hold it back a little bit and then to whack the engines up for the session. But like we said, Max likes to just go out the pit lane and be like, no, I am miles ahead of you. Thank you very much. So, and that is exactly what the case is. So I don't think there's anything to worry about if you're a Red Bull and Max Verstappen fan.
Question from P1 Patreon member James BWFC22. What's the issue with Mercedes, mostly Lewis, and their one-lap pace? Their car on Saturday compared to Sunday looks completely different recently, and same again seems to be happening. I think Mercedes, I know that we do these sort of a little bit of analysis on Friday running and whatnot, but I feel like Mercedes are the hardest team to read when it comes to Friday practice, where they just seem like they do a lot of learning. A car just rolls out at the start of FP1 and they just look at it and go, oh God, that's wrong. And I feel like they have the most sort of improvement over the course of a weekend, that I feel as though you have to take what they do with a pinch of salt, as with other cars, of course, as well, and other teams. But yeah, Hamilton struggled. I think he did another lap late on, which again, I think he was 1.1 seconds off Max at the end. I just don't think it's going to be a Mercedes track this weekend. Like we predicted, Tommy, Ferrari, McLaren looking good, potentially fighting for that second position come Sunday.
It does seem like their one-lap pace isn't all that, but they do come alive a lot more in the races, and that was the case for last year. And you can't argue that it's maybe the drivers leaving stuff on the table, because they've got the statistical greatest qualifier of all time and someone that was nicknamed Mr. Saturday. So they've got two very capable drivers in qualifying. They just don't have the pace in quali, it seems, and that leaves them on the back foot. Like, you do wonder if Mercedes might have bagged the odd win here and there over the last couple of years if they'd started on the front row, because the race pace is where they seem to come alive, but one lap is not for them, it seems.
There was an interesting chat about DRS and how going into turn one, they're actually flat, so they have to manually turn off their DRS as opposed to lifting or braking, which is how it's usually sort of programmed to automatically close. They actually have to press the button going into turn one, so obviously they get that rear stability and downforce. And there was also a conversation about why if 130R is so dangerous with DRS, why don't they just do the same thing? Because they're used to pressing the DRS off for turn one. Why can't they do the same for that back straight? It could need it. It does need it, I think, especially around a place like Suzuka that is so difficult to overtake. So yeah, I would be down for having DRS on the back straight, because the drivers are more than capable.
Yeah, because I'm actually surprised about this, that they're fine with that, because I feel like there's been, I'm sure people in the comment section and wherever will be able to tell me where, but I feel like there's been moments where we've needed DRS and they've gone, well, we can't have it here because it's they have to manually turn it off. So I'm surprised that they allow that in Suzuka.
Yeah, so interesting. And that pretty much sums up our chat about free practice and the Suzuka Japanese Grand Prix weekend getting underway. Tom Bellingham, what are your final thoughts?
My final thoughts are, for all the complaining about overtaking and stuff, this circuit is absolutely mega, and I can't wait to watch quali, because even though it might be a struggle in the race for passing, and I'm sure after lap 5 we'll be like, oh, is this circuit suitable for modern F1? In quali trim, oh my god, it's unbelievable. And the drivers love it, and you get to watch Formula 1 cars at the pinnacle of what they can achieve. So yeah, really excited for quali tomorrow.
Hell yeah. We will be live on Twitch, as always, Matt P1 Tommy, for qualifying and for the race as well. It's an early start for the race, good lord. We'll be live from 5:30 in the morning. We'll be live from 6:30 tomorrow UK time, and we'll see you there. Bye!
Bye!